the title race. Manchester City go to Bournemouth on Tuesday, of course, but before then, Arsenal are at home to Burnley on the Monday Night Football. The back page of the Sunday Mirror features an interview with Martin Zubimendi. Paint the town red, he says. Let's win and party like it's 2004. Jason, potentially decisive 2 days in this title race. It looks like it might go to the wire. As far as Arsenal are concerned, does it feel like a test of nerve over verve now?
Oh, obviously, yeah, absolutely. They've got these two games against Burnley at home and Palace away. They'll be watching, obviously, to see if Man City beat Bournemouth. I think it will go down to the last day. I suspect, though, that Arsenal will win very convincingly against Burnley. I think they'll probably get enough in terms of goal difference to even give them a bit of a cushion. Now, I think that West Ham game was the one. It was the one. You know, everyone did say that beforehand, and it proved to be the case. You know, get over the line with that West Ham game. And I was quite surprised how nervous they were in that game and how they were a bit unconvincing. I thought they'd got themselves back on track earlier than that, but it was a vital win. I think that's done it. I think they will get over the line now. And obviously tomorrow night against Burnley, I think I could see them winning very, very convincing. As I say, get a goal difference up to such an extent that it kind of makes it. You know, they don't even have to win on the last day. They could probably draw.
Jackie, have you seen a change in the atmosphere around the Emirates, particularly after that Fulham game and before that Atletico Madrid game, which we understand the fans are going to welcome the team bus again, which we hadn't really seen at the Emirates ever before. And it was absolutely incredible, the scenes before the Atletico Madrid game. It's almost like they're just dragging their team over the line now, aren't they?
Yeah, and the players need them to as well. I mean, they have been criticised before for not being necessarily as vocal as they could be in the past, Arsenal supporters. But I think it's so close now. It's so close, isn't it? And I don't want to be cynical. I promise you I don't. But all the way through the season, I've always felt that it's never going to be as straightforward as people think. Even when Arsenal had a convincing lead and were looking fantastic on the pitch, I've always just, maybe it's just because we've been around the block so many times over a few decades of whenever you think something is in the offing, someone throws a curveball in there. And literally everybody I hear saying, oh, this is going to be straightforward against Burnley. Is it? There's so much at stake. And also, there's crazy things that can happen in any football game. Red cards can happen. Somebody could stick a boot into the thigh of somebody just through a split-second mistimed challenge, and they're off, and that's it, and out for the next game too. And out for, could happen in the second minute of a game, or a key player could go down injured. I'm not here, I promise you, Arsenal fans, to make you nervous. All I'm saying is that when we look on paper at what we think will probably happen in the last couple of games in the Premier League, it rarely pans out that way. So I think it's far from done and dusted. I think huge credit to Arsenal for doing what they've done so far, for reaching the Champions League final, for being this positive, the supporters for being so positive. They probably will get over the line, but I absolutely do not think it's done and dusted. There's a long way to go.
Mark, Jackie says full credit to Arsenal. It's not a narrative that's been shared by a lot of people. In The Observer, Rory Smith talks about Arsenal don't charm everyone, but other coaches are in awe. I'll just read you a bit of this piece. The approach in which they have sought to end that agonising wait for a title, it's fair to say, has not won universal approval from those observers who might, with varying degrees of accuracy, regard themselves as neutrals. Among Arteta's peers, though, the response has been very different. And he quotes... he refers to Daniel Farke and how impressed he was. He says he assessed Arsenal from the perspective of a coach and a manager, analysing them almost as a feat of engineering. And what he saw clearly, he regarded as a masterpiece. Have Arsenal got the credit, and has Arteta got the credit that maybe they've deserved?
No, not really. And I think we're all guilty of not giving them the credit. I mean, I think they're a hard watch, but I think we've got to take away the last 10 years. We've all, really praised the Man City teams of Guardiola and the Liverpool teams of Klopp. The last 10 years have been like fantasy football in terms of the way that the Premier League's been played. But you go back beyond that, Antonio Conte's Chelsea, Mourinho's Chelsea. You don't have to always have flair to win a title, and Arsenal haven't really got a lot of flair. But
though, doesn't it?
It does help, and there are times you watch them thinking this is heavy going. But it's all about winning more points than your rival to win the league, and they're going to do that, I think. So yes, they deserve credit. I mean, again, the Arsene Wenger team was a great team to watch, but prior to that, Arsenal's kind of, DNA was George Graham Arsenal. 1-0 to the Arsenal, defend resolutely and score goals when you can. So let's not get too carried away. If they win the league, they deserve to win it. But I do think that the last day could be really eventful. Like when Jeremy Doku scored that equaliser at Everton, I just thought that goal could have a real significance because it just meant that Arsenal had to get 4 points from this point on. So I think they'll beat Burnley tomorrow. I disagree with Jackie, but I think they'll hammer Burnley, to be honest. I think it's a game that home advantage Emirates. They could score 5 or 6. But if they go behind against Palace at Selhurst Park on the final day, the Arsenal fans will get really, really jittery, especially if City is scoring goals against Villa. So I think it could go down to the final day, and it could I mean, it could like be Celtic Hearts. It could be a very, very late decisive goal, but I do think it's going to go on the final day.
Just going back to that piece from Rory, he says about use the word awe. When I talk to managers, it's not awe, it's admiration. They think they're a fantastically well-coached team. There's always, when I talked to him, I don't know who it was, but a manager said to me, absolutely brilliantly coached team, fantastic, but, and there was a but, it's like, as Mark said, a hard watch.
If that was Sam Allardyce's team or Tony Pulis's, they'd be getting criticised. But because it's Mikel Arteta, it's different.
Do you not think there's an element of the fact they haven't won it for 22 years?
Yes.
Though? Do you not have to cut them some slack? They've just got to do what they've got to do because mentally,
And
it's
that's
a
definitely what's
much,
happened this
much
season.
bigger challenge
Yeah.
than Manchester City winning the title.
I think that's definitely what's happened, sorry, because he has tried to play more free-flowing football and it just didn't quite work. I think this season, as you say, Jackie, is all about just get over the line. Just find a way to get over the line. And then hopefully then you can build on that. Because I think if they do win it this year, we could see a period of dominance from Arsenal. I genuinely think that.
It's almost like the Champions League final is going to be a battle for football soul, isn't it? It's going to be Arsenal against PSG. The PSG are a dream team to watch. They're fantastic in every department. They pass it around. They move brilliantly. They can score goals from all elements. You know, Skelly is a brilliant player, and you've got Arsenal.
And one of the reasons fans are critical, neutral fans are quite critical of Arteta as well, is his antics on the touchline. So for neutrals, I was watching an Arsenal game with someone the other day who was just shouting at the telly. He was just so annoyed by his antics that actually winds
Time
people
wasting,
up.
running the clock down, you know, goalkeepers going down for treatment. All these things that Arsenal do. Other teams do as well. Man City have been terrible for 10 years on the tactical fouls. But
Yeah, just picking up on that, have you, in all the time that you've been covering football, and particularly in the Premier League, experienced as much noise and narrative around a club as you have at Arsenal this season?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we've ever gone to a title race whereby everyone's criticising the style of play, because like I said, the last 10 years it's been dream football, and prior to that we didn't have that kind of comparison. You know, if Chelsea were in it under Conte, it wasn't like, well, it's not as good as Guardiola's City. You know, even Leicester in 2016, it wasn't great to watch, but it was exhilarating because of what they were doing. But equally, it was built on a kind of a solid defence and counter-attacking football. So, yeah, Arsenal have been dominated by the narrative, but if they win the league, they won't care one little bit.
I think there's been three factors, hasn't there, really? I mean, I think, you know, somebody asked me this the other day, actually, who worked for Arsenal. I think the manager himself sometimes has alienated people, and it's been quite difficult to, you know, sort of warm to, let's be honest. I think the style of football has been an issue. This is going to get me in trouble. I think the fans sometimes can be a little bit insufferable as well. You know, I mean, even people saying if they win it this year, it's going to be the greatest Premier League triumph ever and all this sort of stuff. And think, well,
you're saying that?
Because I haven't won it for 20 years or whatever, and you know, I think Ian Wright said it would be the greatest if they win the... And there is an argument for that. If they win the Premier League and the Champions League, there's an argument for that. It's just
not greater than Leicester, though.
But it's just, no, in terms of winning the Premier League and the Champions League in one season, have not won them for... There is absolutely, I'm not saying it's a wrong argument. It's just the kind of statements like that do rile people at times. I think those three factors have been at play for them, but they're not factors they can't get around. They're not factors. They don't care if they win. If they win, they win. Then they just
would
have to
every
win.
fan base not be insufferable?
Yeah, look, if Arsenal fans aren't happy that they're not getting enough credit for winning the league, well, I wouldn't worry about it. If you win the league, it doesn't matter what people think. You've won the league. So, you know, get on with it.
Just finally, Jason, on Arsenal, just picking up on what you said there about potentially being ominous for the rest if they were to get over the line this season, because there is a transitional feel about their challenges as well, isn't there? Could be a perfect storm for Arsenal in the next few years.
And I also feel, I definitely feel that they've built so well in the last few years under Arteta that the growth of the club, and this is why they should be admired, is, you know, yes, they've spent money, but they've spent within their means, and they've done it in a very sort of organic way, season by season. They've built upon it, second, and now if they win it, and there's profile of the squad, the age of the squad, and we know the improvements that need to be made in that squad, they're obviously up front, and they'll do that hopefully in the summer. But so I feel once you get over the line with this team, I think we could see a period of dominance. I think they could win 2 or 3 titles in the next 5 years. I definitely think that with Arteta, and it could be quite an ominous sign for the rest of the Premier League.
They have the stability that their rivals just don't have. All the top clubs are without managers or changing.
I just don't see Arsenal's style of play being sustainable.
I think they'll evolve the style of play. I think once they get over the line this season, I think they'll become a more attacking team.
I think City will be better, Chelsea will be better under Alonso. I think Liverpool will be better. So I just think this is Arsenal's window. If they don't win it this year, they'll win it at some point. But I don't think there'll be a period of dominance.
Well, you think if they win it this year, that's kind of it. They'll fall back into the pack again.
I do. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I do.
OK.
Disagree.
Brilliant. Let's go from the title race to the battle to avoid the drop. The Mail on Sunday focuses on West Ham United's huge game at St James's Park this afternoon. Will Nuno finally trust Wilson to save Hammers? Jackie, this cannot be underestimated, can it, how big this afternoon is for West Ham United? They probably didn't think they'd get this opportunity with Tottenham Hotspur being 1-0 up against Leeds to give them that cushion, but then Leeds ended up equalising. In recent memory, given what's at stake, can you think of a more significant game for West Ham United and maybe a bigger game for Tottenham Hotspur, even though they're not playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely huge, isn't it? I mean, again, nothing's done and dusted. We try to look at tables and fixtures and try and work out what we think is going to happen. But actually, there's always curveballs that are going to be thrown in, and nerves as well. And the pressure, there's so much pressure, and it's still so tight at the bottom. I think under De Zerbi, clear improvement for Tottenham. And so we're thinking, Tottenham are going to pull away now. But they haven't really. There's still only a couple of points in it. And they were 1 point clear when Tudor was sacked, and now it's only 2 points, despite the clear improvement and the midfield experience that's been brought in by De Zerbi for Tottenham, I think is one of the and they are looking better. But that doesn't necessarily count for much. It's all about the points. And the point there was it the Mail about Wilson? He is an expert finisher. He's not favoured by Nuno for whatever reason. There are lots of issues, of course, with injuries. But my goodness, he's played for England for a good reason. And of course, playing against Newcastle United would bring the best out of him. But whether he gets the opportunity, we'll see. But the relegation battle being absolutely fascinating, and I'm all here for it as a neutral.
He was out the door, wasn't he, as well? Wilson, I mean, they were getting rid of him. Incredible. But even when he came on against Arsenal the other day, I mean, he's obviously the one that was disallowed, but he provided such a great threat to West Ham. I know the injuries and everything, but it does surprise me he hasn't played more. I think Castellanos has done quite well, but Pablo's not really worked for them. Obviously, 2 strikers that he brought in the January window. I'm surprised he's not turned to Wilson much more in terms of actually trying to score the goals that will keep them up.
What finish that was, by the way.
Absolutely.
Out, but what
fantastic.
Mark, Alistair Gold's piece in the Sunday Mirror will probably reflect how all Tottenham Hotspur fans are feeling about this game, but what's to come on Tuesday. Because if West Ham United do get a win at St James's Park this afternoon, Tottenham Hotspur will then be plunged into the relegation zone ahead of a game at Stamford Bridge. The piece is a bridge too far. Anywhere but Stamford Bridge, writes Alistair Gold, would be Tottenham's preferred destination for Tuesday's final road trip of their relegation battle. Ask any Spurs fans where their team just cannot win in the Premier League, and the answer would either be Chelsea or the Emirates. Psychologically, what do you think it would do if West Ham United get that 3 points today?
Well, I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at this. I think psychologically, I think the vast majority of Spurs fans would be dreading going to Chelsea, thinking that's it, they're done. I mean, I know a couple of Spurs fans, and their view is that if West Ham win today, Spurs are down. That's their kind of pessimistic view of it.